Las autoridades chinas rastrean un nuevo virus letal en este mercado de pescados y mariscos en la ciudad de Wuhan.
Mais fantasia, a questão do coronavírus.
We have it totally under control.
Characterized as a pandemic.
Para decretar el estado de alarma en todo nuestro país, en toda España.
NHS has saved my life, no question.
Nehmen Sie es auch ernst.
Uma pequena crise, né?
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, very powerful light.
4 months ago, we would never have imagined having to face something like this, a crisis that has brought the world to a complete halt, that has totally changed our lives and that has confronted us with an unprecedented challenge. How has COVID-19 affected the digital entertainment and video games industry? What are the challenges it must face? What tools can help to do it? What opportunity has this crisis itself created? Confinement has increased video game consumption by 75%, and sales in March alone were close to 1.6 billion, a 35% year-on-year increase. Games like Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto now have 70 to 120 million active players per month and generate between 1 and 1.5 billion hours of gameplay every month. Twitch has added 1.49 billion hours of gameplay in April, a 50% increase over March, while Mixer and YouTube have doubled their traffic. Microsoft revealed a 130% increase in subscribers to its Game Pass service, reaching 10 million. But what does the future hold? Confinement will end, social distances will disappear, new rules will be set and new outbreaks may arise. So what will happen to the video game industry? How will it adapt to this new reality? Will it be able to sustain its growth? In an uncertain future, we need the right answers.
Good morning, everyone. I am Maya Pixelskaya, and I welcome you once again to Game Lab, the World Forum of the digital entertainment and video game industry, an industry destined to transform reality, and a reality that this year has been hit by one word: coronavirus, the pandemic that has caused one of the most serious global crises in recent times. During Game Lab 2020, we will analyze the impact and consequences of this pandemic for the video game sector, as always with the help of some of the industry's foremost leaders and experts. And to do so, I have by my side the founder and president of Game Lab, one of the people most qualified to talk about all of this, Ivan Fernandez Lobo. How are you, Ivan?
Thank you, Maya. I'm very good, fortunately.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to have you here. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for what we have coming next. As you said, some of the most relevant leaders in the games industry, and we will try to, to see with them, to analyze a little bit what's happening, what it's bringing to the industry, and also what the industry is bringing to the world in this pandemic.
Exactly. And due to the situation this year, as you can see, we have adapted Game Lab to the circumstances. Therefore, all of our guests will be speaking from wherever they might be on the planet. So, without further ado, let's get this bonus session of Game Lab 2020 started. And we are starting off in a very high note, as it's time to introduce the fantasy literature writer and founder of Games Workshop, the company from which he distributed one of the most famous role-playing games in history, Dungeons and Dragons. We have with us Ian Livingstone. Hello, Ian.
Hello there.
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Great, thank you.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for being with us today, Ian. So how have you been handling the quarantine?
Well, I've been taking a lot of Zoom calls. I feel like I've been working in a call center.
Yeah.
But, my spirits are still up. I'm still being able to interact with all my colleagues across around the world. So things are good. It's quite awesome.
Thankfully, you have Lara there to protect you.
Yes, it's great to. Thank you, Laura. It's great to have the games be successful during the pandemic.
Yeah. So, Mr. Livingstone, what do you miss most about life before the outbreak?
I think the thing I enjoy, like everybody else, is human interaction. You know, we are interactive animals, so we enjoy being together. And clearly, games have allowed us together in a different way. It's very interesting to hear that the World Health Organization, before the pandemic, we're talking about potential gaming disorder. Now we're talking about games bringing people together with their hashtag playing apart together. So I think so as a beginner, a big shift in the perception of the games industry in a positive sense.
Ian, it's great to see you. Hello again.
Hello again, Ivan.
Hello. It's always great to see you. It doesn't matter if it's on TV or internet or whatever. Always a pleasure. I wanted to ask you: do you think the video games has been probably the best ally for people in this pandemic?
Well, the thing about video games is that they're interactive. They give people agency, take control, and of course, with online gaming, you can play together even though you're apart. So, film and music, of course, is enjoyable on TV, but it's a linear experience. It's not immersive in the same way that games are. So I think games have been able, during the pandemic, to bring people together, whereas you, of course, are not together when you're watching a film or listening to music. So I think from that point of view, from the social and cultural point of view, and community aspects, they've been brilliant. And as I said, I was talking about a second ago, the World Health Organization now recognizing the community value of games, enabling people to play together even though they're apart.
So actually, during this confinement, video game consumption has increased more than that of cinema and TV. So do you think the pandemic has been like the definitive push to crown video games as the king of entertainment?
Well, it's arguably the largest entertainment industry in the world. It's bigger than TV and movies combined. $150 billion in revenue last year. Clearly, that's accelerating. 3 billion players worldwide. Help define us as who we are as human beings. And games as an entertainment proposition clearly resonates with the millennials who are digitally native. So we've seen games go beyond just being simply games to becoming broad entertainment. And games like Fortnite have established a new way of bringing people together, not just to play together, but to meet and communicate and be together. Effectively a metaverse, a third space. And I think that's where games can take people, whereas traditional entertainment media can't. So I think, as far as the future is concerned, this kind of immersive digital experience, giving players agency to be able to control their destiny, is far more compelling than
Ian, from an industry perspective, what big changes do you think this pandemic will bring us? I mean, do you think that we'll see like a new distribution models, business models, what sort of things, VR, whatever, being accelerated by the pandemic, by the crisis?
Well, the thing about the games industry is always evolving thanks to changes and innovation in technology. I mean, it changes like no entertainment industry. Each time there's a new platform, it's additive to the market size. So from PCs to consoles, mobile phones to VR to AR to esports, these are all additive. Whereas in music rather, new platforms are usually substitution. So every time there's a new technology, substitute for the previous model rather than additive. So in terms of the games industry today, I think the post-COVID world will accelerate the digital adoption of games by consumers who hadn't normally been involved with games. I think it really puts us on the map in terms of visibility. Everyone's noticed in the investment community our revenues are up, and our business models are changing. Mass market entertainment medium, and there's amazing amounts of upside yet to come.
And what would you say to governments who still do not consider video games as a priority?
Well, we've always been like the sort of the unwanted stepchild of the creative industry. But I think we're being brought into the government thinking a lot more these days. Clearly, they would have noticed how successful the games industry was able to be during the pandemic. They would have noticed that consumption and revenue are up substantially, and the creation of games is not being hindered by the pandemic. Everybody's been easily able to transition to working from home using cloud-based development systems and platforms. And therefore, it's largely business as usual. So in a post-COVID world where the network economy is going to be far greater, we've all seen how digital implementation adoption has accelerated. And I think the video games industry ticks all the right boxes in the digital world. It's high-tech, high skills, export focused, regional, it doesn't need to be successful, it creates intellectual property. I mean, what's not to like? The time is now for games, I think. Games are everywhere, pervasive, they're mass market, and games are actually eating.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. So, Ian, thank you very much for taking part in Game Lab. Thank you for being here with us today. I really hope the next time we see each other will be in 3 dimensions.
Let's hope so. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ivan.
Please welcome the Director of Global Game Jam and CEO of Geography, one of the 10 most powerful women in the video game industry according to Fortune magazine, Kate Edwards. Welcome, Kate Edwards. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hello, Kate. It's great to see you. We usually, I mean, you are one of the biggest travelers, right, in the games industry. You and Rami, you are everywhere. I mean, whoever that knows you knows that you don't stop. You basically don't have. I mean, I'm happy to see your house finally.
Yeah, this is my very geeky office, as you can tell in the background. It's been weird not traveling for over 2 months.
Yeah, I guess my question was going to be, how can you survive? Such a traveler like you in this time, how have you been able to survive?
It's been difficult. Honestly, the fact that I traveled a lot earlier this year, I was in Pakistan and Israel and the UK and elsewhere. So I did a lot of traveling in the first quarter. So I guess I kind of got it out of my system a bit. But right now, I'm ready to travel again. I'm really getting anxious.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I guess so. So, Kate, Twitter has already told its employees that they don't need to go back to the office. Not anymore. Facebook wants half of its people to be working from home within 10 years. So COVID-19 has accelerated remote working. Do you think this is here to stay? Or do you think we are social beings who need contact with each other in the end?
Well, I think it's a little of both, frankly, because we know that remote work has been increasing for years. And I think the coronavirus really punctuated this movement towards more remote work. And the funny thing is, like in cities like Seattle, which is a very tech-heavy city, within 2 weeks, the coronavirus solved all the traffic problems that the city's been trying for decades to fix. And it's just because people were told to work from home and they staggered their work hours and things like that. And so it's a very positive outcome. And just like we've seen in a lot of news stories, the climate is better in a lot of places because of less cars on the road. So I would like to see a lot of this stay in place to a certain degree, but we have to balance that with the social nature of who we are as human beings, because we know we need that connection. But I think we're on a path to a better balance.
So Kate, what do you think big companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, we've seen them spending millions and millions building all these huge facilities. What are they going to do with them?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
A lot of suggestions that have been floated is there's a lot of potential for homeless housing. If you've seen the size of the Microsoft campus here in the Seattle area.
Do you think they will tend to exist? They will keep on building these kind of facilities, or they will go back?
I don't think so, because I think they're going to understand that there are certain job functions that can function perfectly well remotely. And I think it's a viable choice that a lot of employees can make, because certainly there are employees for whom working from home is a better situation. And so it can actually be a real choice for them that's not going to be judged as being lazy or in some negative way. Because as we've seen in the last few months, you can work from home in a tech field and do a perfectly fine job.
Yeah, exactly. So what will it do with all those buildings? That's really a mystery. Maybe housing, I don't know. So Kate, I would like to ask you, what tools are needed to generate more diversity in the creation and production of video games?
Well, there's the first tool of all is awareness. As we're going through the more recent social injustices that we're seeing globally, as far as the ethnic injustice, and when we're seeing in our industry again with the sexism and the harassment that this industry continues to harbor, and we know it's not just a game industry problem, but we have to have awareness. And we have to believe the people who are stating that they are having these issues and that they are being treated unfairly or inappropriately. And so for a lot of us, we have to just have that awareness. And during the creation process, when creators are making characters, when they're using, creating worlds and all these other things, having that certain level of awareness kind of inside there during the creative process, and you're always conscious of it, I think is really helpful. And in my culturalization work I've done for many years, that's basically what I try and do, is get game creators and world builders to be mindful of the decisions they're making and to really kind of step back a little bit and think about whether or not this decision is actually a good reflection of diversity and inclusion, or are they just acting on their own instinct and their own biases.
Kate, do you think that games are already a good place, an ideal place to bring people together, to help people know each other and understand each other better?
Absolutely. I mean, among all the forms of media that human beings have created throughout history, we currently, with games, we are the ones at the forefront of defining human narrative. Just in the same way written language and art and television and radio and all these other forms of media were redefining how we pass stories from one generation to another. Games are currently that evolution. So people in the game industry, frankly, should be proud of the fact that they are on the forefront of this. And games in particular, because of the interactive nature of the media, I consider them to be an empathy engine, unlike any other form of media. Yes, we can cry during movies and other forms of media, but I think games are poised to evolve that even more. And we're just on the very edge of that starting. And so I think games have tremendous potential.
Yeah, they do, definitely. I have cried playing video games. I don't know about you.
Yeah, me too. Hard to confess, but yeah.
I have.
We are believers.
So thank you, Kate, very much. Thank you very much for being today with us in Game Lab. I hope to see you in person someday, hopefully.
Somewhere around the world.
Around the world, yeah.
It doesn't matter where. It's always a pleasure to see you as well, Kate. Hope you stay safe and good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kate. Right, goodbye.
Bye.
Next up, we have the founder and CEO of one of the most important mobile game companies in the world, Supercell. But above all, and most importantly, he is the winner of Game Lab's 15th anniversary award, Ilkka Paananen. How are you, Ilkka?
Hello, Ilkka.
Hello.
It's great to see you.
Hi, Maya. Hi, Ivan.
Hi.
It's great to see you.
Yeah. Where are you? Where are you in the world right now?
Well, out of all the places, I'm in Finland.
Whoa.
Ilkka, it feels like it was like 7 months ago when you were here in Barcelona with us, and it feels like it was like 1,000 years, right, ago, with all these things happening.
Another lifetime.
It's great to see you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Ilkka, I wanted to ask you, do you feel that you have, from your company, you have like a tremendous number of players, of users. Do you feel games in general, and your games in particular, are helping people to feel better in this very hard time for all of us?
Well, in fact, I do. You know, if you think about how games and also our games are played these days, you know, people play them together in groups, you know, whether it's a clan, in Clash of Clans or neighborhood in a game like Heyday. And you know, there's like, of course, like people play them like because of the gameplay benefits, but also like to get the social value. And I feel that games in these kind of difficult times are one of those things that, you know, makes world a smaller place and also can bring people together. And at the same time, games can provide this type of virtual escape where you can go and you know, it's kind of a happy place. You know, I do feel that the games do play a significant role in times like this.
So,
and of course, like in a time of like social, like distancing, like games is one of those things that can safely bring people together as well.
So yeah, the social aspect of games is very, very important right now. But do you think it's going to become even more essential in the future? Are we going towards that?
Absolutely. I feel that, you know, we're still like scratching the surface when it comes to the social interaction in the games. And, you know, most of us play games with these type of devices these days, and, you know, they're fundamentally connected devices. And you know, I really do that there's like so much that the industry can do still and innovate on the social aspects of the gameplay.
Ilkka, as a company, how has this pandemic affected you? I mean, how has affected your operations, your competitions as well, as you are a major actor in the esports? Could you just explain us a little bit how this affected your company?
Sure. So first of all, I would like to say that, you know, of course, the pandemic is really like unfortunate and a kind of sad situation. And like if you look at the world in general, it's been terrible to see like the impact on the small businesses in particular. So I feel that we who are in the games, we are in a very lucky position, and I almost feel like guilty about complaining about anything. But like how it has affected us, like on the demand side of the equation, it really hasn't impacted that much. But then on the kind of on the production side of things, of course, we as everybody else, we have to work from home, work from remotely, and of course, you know, that can be a bit more difficult way to produce games, and depending a lot on the team and on the individual situation. And then, as Ivan, you asked about esports. Obviously, you can't hold physical events anymore, and we've transitioned all the events to online, which I feel has went actually really well. And maybe even going forward, we will do more of these online events. And of course, there's always going to be a place for these bigger physical events as well. But I think this time has shown us that also like online, you can provide a lot of value for players that way.
Ilkka, I would like to ask you about the relationship between gaming companies and their communities. What do you think gaming companies can do to better support their communities at times like this?
Well, I think the number one thing is just to keep on doing what they're doing and do it as well as they can. As I said, you know, gaming companies are in a very fortunate situation in that, you know, the pandemic like generally doesn't impact us negatively. So I think, you know, the gaming companies, like most of all, should focus on focus on their own business and, you know, being great corporate citizens, you know, continue to pay taxes to their home jurisdictions, you know, continue to employ people, continue to be a great place to work for, and do all of those like basic things. And then, as Ivan, you asked about esports. Obviously, you can't hold physical events anymore, and we've transitioned all the events to online, which I feel has went actually really well. And So that's the number one thing. And then number two, as I said, the games do provide a great place for people to enjoy like moments of happiness during these difficult times. So that's the other thing where I think we can contribute. And then thirdly, like, many gaming companies, including ourselves, we have these like philanthropic or charity programs where we can help NGOs and other people in need. And again, like as long as we take care of our own businesses, we will be able to be in a position to help others as well, like through these extra efforts.
Ilkka, as you said, you are in the lucky side of the equation, and you have always been very supportive with the community around you. An example, I believe, as a company in that sense. But what are the learnings that you would take from this pandemic, both personally and business-wise?
Maybe it's easier to start from personal side. I think one of the eye-opening things for me personally has been the business travel and how much is that needed, or maybe how much is that not needed. So the pandemic forced us to go, like, of course, all online, and myself included. I have all of my meetings like through video conferencing, and it's amazing like how much stuff you can get done that way, that you actually don't have to be physically present.
Yeah.
And of course, I start to wonder, like, why on earth have I spent so much time on airports, in planes, under jet lag, being tired and all that. And it seems that you actually could replace a lot of that via just, online meetings. So that's one thing that I'm going to take with me, like, to the post-corona times for sure. I'm going to be way more critical about my own time usage and when it actually is needed. It's needed to travel. And I also believe that's going to be great, like, not only like for people's personal lives, but of course for the planet as well.
Even if I agree with you, I still owe you a visit in Helsinki.
Well, Ivan, you're always welcome, as you know.
Thank you so much, Ilkka.
Ilkka, more than 100 people a day play video games that are developed in your company. It's a lot of people. Have there been more mobile downloads during the pandemic?
Well, for us, like we haven't seen a major uptick. Oh, and our demand for our games, it goes up and down depending on the game, depending on the country, depending on the marketing campaigns, the community events, and so on. But I can't say that we have seen like a major surge upwards because of the pandemic, and it's also like because it goes up and down all the time, so it's hard to kind of distinguish what's exactly the impact of the pandemic itself.
Yeah, and when you're in the area of 100 million people a day, it's difficult to keep track of a small fluctuation. So it hasn't affected you.
No, I can't say it has, no.
Okay, Ilkka, so thank you very, very much for being with us today, telematically. Thank you for answering our questions.
It's been a pleasure, Ilkka.
Thank you very much.
As usual. Hope to see you soon.
I hope we can travel soon, Ilkka.
Thank you
very
guys.
much.
Take care, stay
Thanks,
safe.
Maya. Thanks, Ivan. Take care, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
The time has come to hear from a true eminence for anyone who has had the least bit of contact with video games, and especially with graphic adventures. Creator of titles like Monkey Island and owner of the developer Double Fine Productions, Team Schafer.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
team.
I'm Tim Schafer, and I'm a man of many passions.
Joining Xbox Studios is Double Fine Productions.
Hello, team.
Hi, how's it going?
Welcome to Game Lab.
Finally here in Madrid. Am I in Madrid?
Yay!
Yeah,
No, we are in Barcelona, team. Come on, stop joking. We are always in Barcelona.
Always in Barcelona, Tim.
Always there in my mind.
And you're in our mind as well. How are you doing?
Great, we're doing good here. I like your necklace, Maya, as always. Look,
I'm partial to Tim Schafer, all right?
I knew he was a fan, so I could only convince him to join us. Can I say that, Tim? I could only convince you to join us when I said that Maya was the one that was going to be introducing this.
Yeah, anything for Maya.
Oh, I'm such a big fan
you
of Tim.
too.
It's great to see you.
So, Tim, how has this situation affected you on Double Fine?
Well, it's been interesting and a challenge, but we're really, I think, really lucky. I think just working in video games, compared to a lot of people in the world, we're very fortunate in that we can still work. We still have, an income, and we still get to do something very similar to what we were doing before. It's just a lot more like this in little tiny windows on the screen, talking to each other through video conferencing. But it's been a challenge in that I think Double Fine is a company that really, it's a very friendly company that they like being together, like hanging out, they socialize together, and so it's kind of sad to see them all trapped in these little cells on the screen, not able to hang out, but we are sharing our homes and our cats and our kids with each other, so we're just trying to do things, try and keep things as normal as possible. Like we're still doing the people who do yoga at the office are still doing yoga on the video screen, and so
really?
We're still playing, we're still playing board games on Wednesdays and still trying to keep the social app part of the company going while we're still, working away on Psychonauts 2. And for some things, it hasn't had a bad effect at all. Like for my writing, I have a lot more time to sit and write, and I'm getting a lot of writing done. It's just a little harder to just, get up from your desk and walk down to the kitchen and see something on someone's screen and be like, that's cool, but, and talk to them about it. Those kind of moments are harder to get, but we're, we're doing our best, and I think it's working out for us.
Tim, you are an independent developer at heart, right? In heart, soul, you are an independent developer. You will always be an independent developer. How do you think this situation is affecting or is going to affect independent developers around the world? Do you think that they're going to be in a more tough situation or a better situation? How do you analyze that?
Well, I mean, it must be, we do feel grateful. Like I was independent officially until last year when we were acquired by Microsoft. And there are times when I'm like, it does feel really good to have a big brother, to make things feel really stable in times when the world doesn't feel that stable. So it does feel nice. And so it is like work-wise, independent developers are working probably similarly to how they were working before, which was alone in their house and maybe connecting via the internet with people around the world to, a small team to put a game together. But it's, it's uncertain times, and I think that, the biggest change will be just the future of games and how, people are going to continue to make money off of their games when things switch to things like subscription models and the way the distribution is changing. And I think, there's two big ways that, or maybe there's more, but to me, I see like these two paths, of Netflix or Spotify. And I feel like with Spotify, that will affect indie developers a lot because I don't think a lot of musicians are getting rich off Spotify. But something like Netflix, it shows like there's a lot of original content being funded by these subscription services. And so that's what I hope. I hope that as people move to subscription models, there'll be a lot more funding for indie development, and the people will see that when you have a service like that, you don't need just like one big thing because people will finish it, and then why would they subscribe? You're going to want a bunch of great, diverse games to just feel like there's so much there. And I think indie games can do that because if you watch a trailer for like Day of the Devs, the show we just put on, you'll see like you just get this barrage of images and you're just like, oh my gosh, games are so great. And I think that's the feeling that indie games can provide really well.
This situation must have surprised people who were thinking about taking the leap and creating their own developer or trying out their luck making games. So with so many years of experience in the industry, what advice would you give to someone who wants to take that leap right now to create video games in this current situation? Would you advise them to make a video like the one you did in 2012 for Broken Age that broke all records? Something like that?
Yes, definitely accidentally get $3 million. That's a good piece of advice. But it depends where you're leaping from. Like if you're leaping from school to your parents' basement, I think you can get a lot of things done there for cheap. But if you're if you have a job right now, I don't know if I would leap away from that right now. I would maybe hang on to that for a little bit longer. But if you got to really, the thing I've learned the most is that you really do have to be in touch with what your passion is and what makes you get up in the morning and do what you do all the time. And so, if you don't make games the way you want to make games and for the reasons that you've always made games, if that's not satisfying to you wherever you are, then you should leap into something new. Because if you wake up one morning and wonder, like, why am I doing this? How did I get in this, how to get in this position? I'm working on something I don't care about. You've got to watch that because been doing this for many, many years, and it's really easy to have the forces of the industry push you into places where you question, like, what am I doing? You got to always, follow. I feel like I'm just saying, follow your heart, like some sort of video for the Barbie doll. But anyway, it's true. I own it.
Yeah, that's true in it.
Tim, if there's something that independent developers have, is passion, right? I mean, most of them have a lot of passion. Do you think, like, from an industry perspective, that passion is more needed than ever? Do you think independent developers are more needed than ever before?
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of getting at there, is that it's the driver for innovation. It's the driver for, because no one, that's what makes you take a chance. Like you have an idea, it sounds crazy. No one believes in it but you have this passion that I believe in it. And that's the only way that anything new ever gets put into, the art form. And I think if people aren't constantly putting in new passion projects, personal projects, then video games will just become stagnant and die.
Yep. I'm going to get a little deep right now, Tim. So do you think games can help make the world a better place? Yours do.
Of course. Of course I do. I mean, I feel that video games are art, and I think like any great novel or film, they are works of art that connect with you emotionally and help you feel things, and if they're done, there's different kinds of games. Some games are just meant to just pull money out of your wallet all the time, but if a game is presenting a narrative or something beautiful art or something that compels you to put yourself in an altered state of mind and be transported into a fantasy world where you connect with things emotionally and characters, I think that's enriching to humanity. I think it's enriching to every individual who experiences that. And I think, like all art, it creates more empathy and more emotional intelligence in the people that experience. And so that I think it makes people who do it better people. And I think it's just when we're confused about the world and you don't know what's going on out there, I try to remember the team that I'm really confident that deep down we are putting good into the world. I think we're making something beautiful, and I think we're putting something happy into the world that people will enjoy. And you're always sure that you're doing the right thing if you at least know that.
I'm glad that you mentioned art because there has been some controversy. I don't know if too much controversy, but around self-expression in games and political expression in games. I mean, the creator, trying to transmit in a way his own beliefs, his own thoughts through games. And I wonder if that's that it's difficult for a creator nowadays still expressing those ideas, those self-beliefs in such a crowded market, such a competitive market. How can a creator compromise his own or her own ideas with the speed that the market imposes?
Well, I think with any art, there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And I think if you just boot up a game and someone's going to lecture you about some topic they believe in, it's like you might as well just read their Twitter account. And it's not artful or interesting, but I think, like we say a lot in narrative games, that we're not necessarily, games aren't necessarily telling you one story. They're giving you the tools to tell your own story. That's maybe not as true in my games because I am just telling you a story. But a lot of games, they're giving you the tools to tell your own story. And I feel the same is true with whether political or moral or other questions. You're providing tools to the player to experience morality, and they can make their own conclusions based on what you provide them. And now what you provide them is your choice, and you can definitely lead them in a certain direction. But putting them in a position where they can choose one path or another or do different things allows them to kind of come to grips with how they feel about issues. And I think you can definitely lead someone into a path that way that's not as like beating someone over the head with it.
Now I'm intrigued. Will we have to take moral decisions in Psychonauts 2? Will we visit the moral areas of our brain? Like
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, I don't think, I'm not talking about like some sort of A/B choice, like do I kill the puppy or not kill the puppy? Because I don't those kind of things. I just mean, I think the player, if they don't feel like they're being lectured to, but they feel like they're just experiencing, emotions and morality, I think they can make their own decisions, and it ends up being a better development, a better process of enlightenment, if you consider that. I know I'm not here to enlighten anybody. I'm not very enlightened myself, but I think you can just let people practice with things in games that will help them in the real world.
Yeah. And Tim, I would like to know I don't know if you play on PC, Xbox, whatever, but if I took your Steam library, for example, which would be the top most played games, the 5 most played games during this quarantine? I want to know. Any guilty pleasures?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I play games everywhere, all over the market, of course. Like on Steam, I'm playing a lot of Psychonauts 2 because you're making Psychonauts 2. I don't know if you knew that. Should I mention Psychonauts 2? And there are all kinds of things. Like I'm playing a lot of Animal Crossing.
Really?
Oh yeah, that has been a big thing in our office. And it's weird. I've been playing a lot of old Atari games. I don't know what, just locked in with it. I've started like playing these old 2600 games from 1980, and just I don't know why I've gone very deep onto that. But the team likes to play a kind of like these prop hunting games. I forget what the term is for that, where you hide in a Witch-It. They play Witch-It. Have you ever played that? Never mind. That's just something that the teams really enjoy getting together and playing at like 5:30 every day. Yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing.
All right. And are you very excited for any new releases that aren't Psychonauts 2 in the future? What are you hyped up for?
Oh, what is coming out soon? When is that new Zelda coming out? I should probably list a bunch of Xbox games.
All those games.
Have you heard of that Halo game? That's going to be great.
Well, all those games that you just announced the day of the devs, right?
Yeah, that's an amazing collection of games.
Awesome.
And I'm not sure which ones are coming out the soonest, but all of those, they've been curated by Greg Rice and the team at Day of the Devs, and they're all picked for being just incredible things to watch and follow along with.
Mm-hmm. So you still work with Greg a lot, even though you are in different teams.
Yeah. I mean, Day of the Devs is meant to be call it platform agnostic. It just covers, we have people on it from all different platforms, and so it's just about the games, mostly. So yeah.
So, Tim, thank you so much for being here today with us. Game Lab, I can't wait to see you in person again.
He's coming next year.
Yeah, really?
You're coming next year, right?
Oh man, that's great to hear.
I mean, the virus is going away already. It's not gonna get in between.
I think we took a bite out of that virus today. I think we did a lot of good against that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be there. That'll be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
that's
please.
the deal.
Watching.
Oh, yay! Verbal contract right here, right now.
Thank you so much, Tim. And give Rachel and Lily a big hug.
Please do.
Oh yeah, I hope you can see them soon. They really want to come out.
Thank you so much, Tim. Goodbye. Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe.
See?
Next, we welcome the person who reinvented the idea of emotion within video games. Titles like Cloud, Flower, Journey, or Sky have confirmed him as one of the most renowned indie video game designers in history. Of course, we are talking about the founder of that game company, Jenova, Chen. You're here. Hello.
Hello, Jenova.
Hello, Jenova. How are you?
It's great to see you again.
Pretty good.
It was like 3 months ago. 3 months ago when we were in Los Angeles, safe. It looks like a long time ago, right?
It's kind of crazy that how I was making joke with my coworkers this morning. I'm like, I got a conference in Madrid in Spain. I need to go next, from one Zoom call to the other one. And now I'm on a different continent.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, Jenova, before we start the interview, I'd like to ask you, how many messages have you received from people who have used Journey to alleviate stress during this pandemic? I can't have been the only one.
So a lot of people would send email to us to tell us how Journey as a game was very helpful to actually relieve their grief. A lot of players who lost their family members would experience this thing where even though they're playing with online players, they felt they're playing with the people they have lost, and it helped them to come out of it and feel like that their lost family members or friends have said goodbye to them.
Jenova, do you think the art form of games could help us alleviate the trauma, could help people alleviate the trauma generated by a crisis like this? And how do you think that's possible?
I think ultimately we are all going through somewhat of a social distancing right now, regardless which country you are in. And I feel games uniquely equipped with the ability to allow one person to play with another is a media that allows us to be socially closer to each other. And so depending on the type of games, I think a lot of times players would experience loneliness if the game is not designed for them to actually open up and connect with each other. But if we design it correctly, it should allow we to be vulnerable and allow us to connect with each other. And in this particular pandemic, climate, that people needed more openness with each other, and so we can actually talk about how we really feel. We run into a lot of players who told us that in real life, when they go to work, they can't share how they feel with each other because it's their boss. It will affect their compensation, and they cannot talk to this with their classmates because they have to maintain certain social appearance, right? And when they go home, they cannot tell their parents, and so only in the virtual world where their identity is safe, right? And then they can share their struggles and their pain with each other. And I think video games can potentially be a place to allow people to be vulnerable and to be heard.
Yeah. And do you think when you designed Journey or Sky, did you imagine that situations like the one we're living now could be possible?
No. I mean, right now, reality is more dramatic than House of Cards. Yeah. Seriously, ever since the pandemic, I stopped watching fictions. Every day I'm just following the news. Yeah. But I would say, at the same time, maybe at this very moment, it would be very clear that, an online social game is going to do very well for the pandemic. But back then, even before there is pandemic, I felt very strongly that this modern society is moving towards a point where even though we are connected more with the social networks and the instant messaging chat apps, more and more people are feeling disconnected from each other. I have friends that I'm very close to attempted suicide because they felt, even though they live in a big city, they work in a big company, they don't feel the world is in need of them. Mm-hmm. Like they felt like they were not connected to any social circles. And so when I was making these games, I was certainly not planning for a pandemic. I was trying to make a game that could potentially connect these friends who wanted to kill themselves, right, with other people, with communities, with relationships and friendships. And that's what I hope games can help.
In Jenova, getting back to Journey and Sky, even Flower, what do you think are the learnings that we could take from those particular games, your games, in these moments, in these hard moments? What do you think are the learnings that we can take?
It's in a way very interesting. Like I was reading a review about The Last of Us 2 from Polygon yesterday, and it talks about how, compared to the fictional world, in these post-apocalyptic survival world where everybody's watching out for themselves, seeing what we are doing today, seeing the people reacting to COVID, reacting to Black Lives Matters, and seeing what the players are doing in the online games, I still think there's a bright side of the humanity. And that's just even more sure than ever. I feel the reality is actually a lot better than what we portray in the future when zombies take over everything. What I see is hope.
So Jenova, your games touch like the soul in amazing ways, especially Journey. So you must receive lots of messages from people who love them and who feel a lot of things while playing them. So could you tell us what are the most inspiring messages you have received from players of your games?
I think there's so many of them, but for me, the most important thing, the most inspiring thing is that when players tell us that the games we made actually made their life better. And to me, this is the most rewarding thing as a game developer, because when I was growing up, I played some games that made me think a lot deeper about my life and about how I would want to grow up, how would I want to approach many important choices in my life. And after playing the game, I was touched by it, but more importantly, I felt I become a better human being. And I hope more games can do that to players. And ultimately, we are only here. Our life is very short, and if we could do something to help each other, that is the most amazing thing we can do for each other.
Jenova, how has this pandemic changed your vision as a creator? Has it influenced you in some way that you are already aware of? As an artist,
yes.
I see you more as an artist.
I think the most important thing is it made us realize that we could work with anyone from anywhere. So like now we are more open to potentially collaborate with no offices. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, this pandemic also made me feel there isn't really countries, and we are all on this planet and we all share the same fate. Before we were talking about global warming, it's still somewhat of an abstract concept, but with the pandemic, you can see it happening in every single country. It definitely changed I think everybody's psyche about how they think about their own country versus the rest of the world.
So has this sparked like a future project for you? Are we seeing pandemic, I don't know how to say that. Are you developing in your head already new games based on this experience?
I have a game that we are working on that's new after Sky, and I don't know. It's something that I've been dreaming for many years. So I wouldn't think that the pandemic would change my course to like suddenly make a different game. But I think the emotion I'm feeling right now with the global community will change the nuance of the new game that I'm working on. On the contrary, with Sky, it's a live game. Originally we planned to have a season in the summer about the Olympics because we assume Tokyo Olympics is going to happen. So we want to make content about sportsmanship. But now with the pandemic, we had to cancel the whole Olympic season. And then when we were trying to make a new season, I was sitting with our team, and everybody wants to make a content that helps the world in this particular climate. So we just actually announced our new season yesterday, and it is now a season about taking a vacation, taking a break.
Much needed.
Travel to exotic island and having really relaxing vibes, and that is something that I feel like everybody in our company, and I'm sure many of us, were missing. It's summertime. We're supposed to be at a cool place, and so that is what we are making for the Sky summer season. So yeah, that's a direct cause of the pandemic.
You know, another thing that happened during this pandemic is that I had to stop playing Sky because my 4-year-old daughter just took the phone and never let me play again. She's playing it now.
Wow!
So you have
4-year-old. That's impressive.
And she loves when she hits other characters and the sounds. And he never will give me back the phone after trying. So that young, you can get engaged by your beautiful game.
So Jenova, thank you very much for being here with us in Game Lab.
Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon, and stay safe meanwhile.
Yeah, you're welcome. I would love to come physically to Spain one day.
We'll bring you to Barcelona.
Yay.
You know, I've been trying for a while. Richard and I have been trying for a while to bring you here. So as we did with Team Schafer before, let's commit. Next time it's possible, you're going to fly over and we're going to show you.
You're closing lots of attendees today.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm doing my job,
the deal.
Right? But I've been talking to Jenova about it for a while. It's time to do it. Thanks, Jenova.
I look forward to it.
Thank you for your time. It's great to see you.
Bye. Guest is one of the most influential women in the world of video games. She's the designer of Dungeons & Dragons Heroes and winner of several awards thanks to her flagship name, Wizardry 8, Brenda Romero.
Got what it takes.
Present the BAFTA Special Award to Brenda Romero.
Hello, Brenda Romero.
Hey, I hope you can hear me all right.
Hello, Brenda.
Yeah, we can. Welcome to Game Lab 2020. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's great to see you, Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. It's been a while.
Thank you so much for joining. And you didn't have to travel this time. We didn't have to fly or anything, or take boats or.
No, this is the quick. I traveled to my desk. I was already here.
Instant travel.
Yeah, I see you have been working today with all those post-its on your lap.
The whole family works, right? The whole family is creating games there.
They don't stop.
Yeah, everybody is.
So Brenda, I think it's safe to say that what we've experienced with the COVID-19 global pandemic will go down in history. That's, of course, but if you had to design a game to explain to future generations what is happening in the world today, how do you imagine it?
The first thing that came into my head is it would be the worst AI bug that I could conceive of in a game, right? Like, it would just be, oh my God, everything's gone wrong.
We've seen that movie already.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, I wouldn't want to design a game like this. It's like, you know, all the things that I took for granted that I walked by every day, you know, we don't get to do those anymore. But at the same time, there have been things that I've loved, like working on this game, for instance. While I really do miss the team, actually, one of the things that I bemoaned is, you know, working full time on a game, you don't spend as much time with your kids as you might want. Mm-hmm. And now I'm home all the time, and you know, they're on dev kits and they're testing the game, and it's all hands on deck. So you know, it's had nice upsides too. Well, I shouldn't say that. Now, let me correct that. It's a horrible thing. It's an absolutely horrible thing that happened. But I have enjoyed spending time with my family that probably I wouldn't have spent nearly as much time now as, you know, I would have spent in the office. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not only the virus, Brenda. I think there are many things happening now in the world. Some of them not really good initially. Maybe they provoke some changes. But do you think that games represent well the society we're living in now?
Do you I have to figure out how I want to understand that question.
Is it good? Are games a good reflection, I would say, of the society that we live now, or should they, in a way?
Well, I'll take the question personally, like just. So when I started in games, which was in '81, I couldn't play a game in which there was a female character, and so I can now. And I like to do that. I feel like games are becoming more diverse and more inclusive of all of us in the world. There's still loads of ground that we have to track.
Yeah, so I wanted to continue with that question, because if games are a reflection of today's society, what would you like to change in that reflection?
You know, I feel like in a sense, as a game designer, I'm really fortunate that I've been able to make the change that I wanted to make. I feel like games are connecting people, you know, whether it's a conference like this, or, you know, people watching Twitch streams, or people playing and sharing with their friends, or playing online. That sort of community is something I've always liked in games. And with Empire of Sin, it has an exceptionally diverse cast. You know, I wanted to make sure that whoever you were, you could see yourself in the game. So, you know, I suppose not if you're not a designer, you might not have that luxury to do that, but I have, and I'll keep doing it.
Brenda, it's inevitable to me when I think about any of you. I think about the Romeros, right? It's like
the Romero bunch.
Initially, you and John. Now it's the whole family. Your kids creating games as well. That's beautiful. We've seen you here in one of the series that it's very popular here in Spain, explaining the story. But my question is, what would you try to teach your kids now doing games to help them be better creators even than you? I mean, what are the learnings that you have taken from all your years of experience that you think are key for them to become even more, I don't know if successful, but meaningful in their creations than you?
Man, you guys got some good questions.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it would be hard for them to be better than me. Like, you know, anybody, like I started in '81, there wasn't a lot there. And while I've been here for a long time, I mean, if somebody started playing WoW when they were a kid, they've already learned a whole ton of stuff that it took me years to learn because it just simply wasn't there. So what would I would tell them first and foremost, the single most important thing is, think of the player, know your player, always be an advocate for your player. What does your player want to see? What does your player want to do? And then probably one of the most important things is just asking yourself, has it been done yet? And if it hasn't been done, that's an opportunity. It's also potentially a warning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's plenty of things that haven't been done for good reason.
But they are very young. They can take risks now, right? They have
That's
time.
the time.
Yeah.
So Brenda, one of your best known titles is Playboy the Mansion. And that's,
oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And that's another one of the reasons why you're so well known in the industry, because you don't have taboos when it comes to sex and video games. In fact, in 2006, you published a book on the subject, which is called Sex in Video Games. So in these 14 years, has the industry changed much in that respect?
Well, I think it has. I mean, games are certainly covering more content that, content you would see in a traditional R-rated movie. Whereas before, that definitely, that could have put you into an AO rating category.
Yeah.
But I do think, at the same time I've changed. Like, that game was very intellectually interesting to me, and the topic was very intellectually interesting to me. But I don't know that I would be interested in working on something like that now. I mean, fundamentally it's objectifying women, and that's just not something that I feel like doing, so.
So, Brenda, I'm a big fan. I have the stage, I can say it. I'm a big fan of your board game, Train. I found that to be...
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I found it to be incredibly touching and smart. Are you thinking about making more board games?
Well, I'm right now. All I'm thinking about is Empire of Sin.
Yeah.
If you can see the sticky notes behind me, but man, you should see what's in my head. So it's the only thing I'm thinking about. But I mean, I really think that I will make another board game. I will certainly make more analog games. I don't know what they'll be about. I think it's safe to say, like, on my deathbed, I'll be complaining because there's some game that I had yet to finish, and I'll make plans with whichever kid's around, like, please, you need to carry this on. But yeah, I'll make something else. I just don't know what it is because my head's all full of Empire of Sin right now.
Yeah, I actually love that because board games are like having a comeback, a very strong comeback in recent years. And to make art out of a board game, I've seen making art out of video games that are absolutely art, but a board game, I had never seen that before, so really, I wanted to say, I really loved the concept, really loved it.
Brenda, how many years have you, since you moved to Europe? It was like 3 years ago? Or
5 years.
5 years already, okay,
5 years.
Time flies. How different it is working in games in Europe and working in games in the US?
Oh, geez, you guys do this. These are like all new questions. I don't know that working in games is a heck of a lot different. I mean, we're all still working on the same platforms with the same technology. But I do find, like, specifically, would feel comfortable talking about Ireland. I mean, I think Ireland has just an amazing community. We're incredibly grateful to be here. The game dev community here is second to none. And it's a great place to live. The world, not the world specifically, but Ireland has loads and loads of tourists, and there's a reason why. So we were here for 3 months, went back to the US and decided to move.
Thank you
I can say that Europe does have a lot more conferences than the US seems to have, though, which I enjoy.
You've been traveling a lot, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for being here with us today. Thanks a lot.
Great
Thank
pleasure,
you.
Brenda, and say hi to the family.
Yes, please.
I will indeed.
And keep working hard on those post-it notes.
Oh, I will.
You will. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I will.
Thanks a lot, Brenda. Take care.
All right, you take care too.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Our next guest, as many others, started out as a gamer, but it wasn't long before his club Neverdie put him in the limelight. He's an actor, director, producer, writer, and one of the most prominent figures in the industry, John Neverdie. Are you there, John?
Hi, Audrey.
Welcome, John.
Hello,
John.
You guys, you look great.
It's great to see you too.
I'm loving the halo you have behind you.
Oh, I love.
Just a little bit of infinity.
You know, John's house is plenty of wonderful works of art.
Really?
And that mirror is one of my favorite ones, by the way. But it has many more.
I love it. I love the effect.
I still have to build my spaceship.
Yeah.
There's time for that.
So, John, welcome to Game Lab, of course. Thanks for being here with us. And from gamer to VR boss, okay? How does something that started out just as a game become such a momentous and important part of your life?
Okay, well, there was a quintessential moment for me when I was playing games in my basement in London on an Apple IIe. And I was playing an RPG, I think it was Wizardry by Surtech Software. And it was so exciting to complete these quests and explore these mazes. I thought to myself, oh my God, do I want to do this? And I'd already committed myself to acting and being an actor. And so I'm like, do I want to make games or do I want to be an actor? And I'm like, no, I gotta be an actor. But these were role-playing games. And so, of course, they are immersive in the same way that being an actor is immersive, where you dive into a role and you make it as real as you can. So that's where it all began. And as games have evolved over the last couple of decades or more, it's taken on a greater role in my life, to the point that when I was struggling to make films and trying to survive in between movies, I really had two alternatives. Starbucks, being a barista, or make money playing games. And I found that I was more inclined to invent ways to make money inside of a game than I was to go get a job, you know. So that's how it all began.
John, you have been talking and I would say dreaming of virtual reality for many years. Well, since the first time I heard about you, and over a decade ago. Do you think this pandemic, there is a before and an after for that vision about virtual reality,
Yeah, I mean, okay, as a champion of virtual reality and of real cash economies in virtual worlds, one is trying to present a future where this is a solution to global problems. Now, the solution that I've constantly been presenting that is not very effective at the moment is to say, hey, you know, climate change is a huge problem. We need people to be able to make money at home. They need to be able to harvest virtual resources instead of cutting trees down and mining the planet and destroying our real world. And but that's a hard sell. What the pandemic has introduced is a greater urgency, and the fact that, hey, we could be locked down over a long period. In fact, the job situation around the world, we don't know to what extent there is going to be a rebound. And, you know, governments are consistently having to look at, well, you know, we're going to have to bail people out again and again. And personally, I just think, well, why don't you just give $500 billion to develop virtual worlds and virtual world economies, and then you can stop giving handouts and you can encourage people to become part of a new global economy. So yes, I think now it is easier for people to perhaps get that we do need these types of solutions to be available, whereas before it seemed more like science fiction.
So, John, how can virtual reality help solve some of the world's problems? How?
Well, the great thing about virtual reality is that if it is designed in the same way that an MMORPG is designed, then you basically create a hunter-gatherer economy with natural resources that are harvested to manufacture all of the goods that gamers need to play. A hunter-gatherer economy means that there is a role for everybody to play. There are job opportunities. And this is what we need more than we need another layer of online consumerism, where effectively people develop products and just sell them, and everybody who comes online is a consumer. Games that have microtransactions primarily are based on that model, where the developer creates items and then sells them to the players to enhance their gameplay. And so there's no true player-to-player demand. Mm-hmm. So if one has a global economy that is based on player demand and hunter-gatherer economics, then effectively you can have $1 trillion economy that is borderless, that anybody can actually find an entry point. So this is already existing. This is not science fiction. This exists today within various virtual worlds, and all it needs to be is expanded upon in order for the job earning level, the minimum wage levels within these worlds to actually compete with developed countries.
Mm-hmm.
John, is that why you ran once for president of the virtual reality? Would be safer and better with a president like you, maybe?
Well, you know, it's very hard being president. I don't think I'm actually very good at it. So I now empathize with all presidents. I really did want to champion avatar rights and the development of infrastructure in order to create jobs. And you know what, as president of virtual reality, perhaps the best thing that I've accomplished is to actually get that message further out. But yes, absolutely, that's what I've done, and that's really my only focus today, is when I look at games and I look at the world that I'm working on, an entropy universe, all I want to do is, how can I get the minimum wage up? Right? Right now, the minimum wage opportunity in entropy universe that I've created through Entropia as president of virtual reality is between $10 and $15 a month. That's not enough money for people to start shouting from the rooftops. So I feel I need to get it up to, $30, $50 a month. And suddenly people will actually take notice and go, wait, that will actually have an impact on my life, especially if I'm dependent on $600 a month handout from the government.
Mm-hmm.
Make VR great again.
Yeah. I see him.
Oh, Lord.
You can do better.
Yeah, you can do much better. So, John, if you could, which virtual reality scenario would you take us to right now? I don't want to be a hunter nor a gatherer. Imagine.
Well, you know, nightclubs have become a big thing in worlds like Fortnite and in games like Fortnite. So there is at the moment that you have people gathering to, you know, party and listen to music, then of course that also creates a demand for fashion. So you have fashion design, you've got manufacturing, then you also have sales that are involved in that. So then there's, of course, beauty, makeup. There's, you know, there's a lot of social items that are required to, you know, to engage. The games that exist today, again, those items, clothes, fashions, very little of it is part of the hunter-gatherer economy. So the players are not really making money supplying the fashions for, let's say, major pop culture events that take place in online games. That can change. So that opens up the door to a lot more professions. I mean, from, you know, I don't want to limit it to fashion and, you know, cosmetics.
Skins,
of course,
yeah.
you go far beyond that. But you know, on a micro level, if the moment you have big events like that surrounding large artists, big artists, you can also have a lot of smaller events and venues for more niche artists. And then, you know, so for example, I was thinking the other day, honestly, wouldn't it be amazing if I could make it possible for a poet to make money in virtual reality?
Oh, yeah.
How can I do that? You know, and I honestly, it's possible. There are ways through creating items and stories that then lead to adventures, also to, you know, to underground poetry readings and this and that. And as long as you've got a true free-flowing economy where players are, you know, buying and selling, then there will be monetization opportunities for everybody in that mix.
I like that VR world, yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you, Maya, John is an amazing actor. He's a very talented actor. I wanted to ask you, John, are you still working on that project, on that movie?
Yeah. Okay, my current mission is, you know, to really bring pop culture closer to life in virtual reality. And so I'm really just trying to develop a storyline or a series, not upload, there's one there now, upload that's done by Amazon, but one that really engages people in a dual life. And so yes, absolutely, I'm very deep into it. Still conflicted between being an actor and a role player.
Great.
It's truly a Renaissance man with his T-shirt with a Vitruvius man and everything. The embodiment of VR Da Vinci. Thank you very much.
Well, I do know that. I mean, I will say, you know, the players, I don't necessarily represent the players as much as I would like to. I find that there's a big backlash. Everything I say and everything I do, in terms of, I think a lot of the people in the virtual world are not quite as, you know, they're not as showy as I am, and they don't like my claims, you know, because every time I say, hey, it's possible to do this, it's possible to do that, they go, look, we're starving to death in here, and but but there's amazing people in virtual reality today that have created extremely tight-knit communities that have been working together for decades now, playing together, growing together, and the fact that we're talking decades of communities and economics I think that I was thinking today, you know, is it going to be, is that still going to exist in another 60 and 80 years? And I feel with certainty, absolute certainty, that we will have extraordinary virtual worlds in 50 to 60 years that may have originated 10, 20 years ago. And that's quite amazing to think of. With incredible histories, rich histories.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
I want to see those worlds.
Yeah, I look forward to live another 60 years to look to see that. Always with you, John.
Hopefully.
Okay, thank you very much. Great to see you guys.
Thanks a lot, John.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Big hug, big kiss to the family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coming to the end to this bonus part of Game Lab 2020. And to finish, we have with us the creator of Second Life, founder and CEO of High Fidelity, Philip Rosedale.
Hello, Philip.
Yeah, you can draw? Oh, cool. Absolutely. I just want to always do this with Peter. I get to do the linear.
Hello, Philip. Welcome to Barcelona again. Welcome to Game Lab. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be there.
I'm seeing a lot of people today. It's not so long since last time we hang out together, but the world has changed, right?
You're very right.
Yeah, hope you're doing well. I wanted to start asking you something, because there is a lot of talk about the metaverse, right? But you are a pioneer, right? You are one of the pioneers of this, or at least of the implementation of this vision. How do you see, what is the vision that you have of the metaverse? How would you explain it to people that is probably listening to this word, not for the first time, but is still trying to understand it?
I would explain it, and I think you're right. My vision of this has remained fairly unchanged over the years. I would explain it by saying that we use the world, the planet we live on, to do a lot of things together. We travel, we see amazing things, we meet new people, we live together with our friends and family. We work, in groups, go to conferences or not. All of those things are gradually going to be replaced with digital alternatives, or I should say many of them. That is, as technology becomes faster and more capable, we're going to be able to move a lot of those activities, like seeing a historic monument or meeting someone halfway across the world. We're going to replace those experiences with identical experiences created by technology that are indistinguishable from the way we do them face-to-face today. And so my work has always been the belief that progress is inevitable, and that we want to build this kind of metaverse as the most general version of that capability.
Mm-hmm.
And Philip, what are the main opportunities that the metaverse can offer today's society?
Well, and of course the moment in history that we're in right now offers some variations on the theme, but things like education, where we're trying to connect students with uniquely skilled teachers. And in general, the students are obviously not in the same place as the teacher. That is but a single example that I think is one of the most near-term obvious ones of how we can use technology to change things by enhancing education. And then I was going to say, and of course this is especially highlighted by COVID, the ability to simply travel for many of the reasons that we travel today, get on an airplane, can be replaced by a really good virtual experience, as of course we're trying to do a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Philip, will COVID, will this crisis get us closer to the metaverse, to its realization?
There's no question but that that's true. And I think it's because, I've said this since Second Life, we're competing with reality. If I give you a virtual conference, I'm competing with a real conference. And the reality is that we're still a long ways away from beating the real game lab face-to-face. But COVID creates an unusual situation where it simply makes the face-to-face experience not expensive, but impossible. And so it creates a very unique opportunity for technology to be explored and used and iterated on, and a lot more funding coming into it around the alternatives, where even a year ago, many cases you would just make the trip. And no matter how good the VR headset was or whatever, you were just going to make the actual trip, and now you can't.
It's true. And what are the main challenges involved in developing this metaverse that we're talking about?
Well, of course, there's a list so long I wouldn't know where to start, but low latency, high quality communication face-to-face between people as video, as avatars, whatever. That problem is an important one. We're dealing with the latency in this connection right now, as you know. I'm somewhat trained with all my public speaking to handle the fact that I'm watching myself echoing back a second or so later. But as you guys know, not everybody is trained as well to do that. It's pretty hard. So getting the audio quality, the visual quality, the facial expressions transmitted between people in only a fraction of a second, even if they're around the other side of the world, that's a big piece of the problem. Yeah. Another big piece of the problem is the content development and the technology to deploy the content. As you know, game engines today are of many different designs, and they have very different capabilities in terms of presenting very rich content to a lot of people at the same time. So there's a lot of technology work that needs to happen to allow us to have an experience that is visually equivalent to a game like Grand Theft Auto or something, but in an environment where that is a real city, and all of those cars and houses and roads and buildings are constantly being changed by thousands of different people, just like they are in the real world. That technology problem is the other big one that I would point.
Philip, we're seeing a lot of concerts, movie releases, conferences as well, in virtual worlds. Do you think that culture is the first thing that we will fully experience in that metaverse?
I do think that entertainment culture probably offers, especially now with COVID, the most obvious place where we can make early use of these new technologies. And obviously, as the concerts or these sort of semi-live concerts in Fortnite have demonstrated, and many things that we've done at High Fidelity over the years as well have demonstrated, the opportunity to entertain someone in a unique and new way in a live metaverse environment. I think that's a big opportunity right now.
Speaking of metaverses competing with reality, are those guitars real?
Those are real guitars, correct.
You play the guitar?
My son is an expert guitar player, and I am a bad guitar player.
You're just using them as a decoration for this interview. Philip, I'm counting on you to make a metaverse I can go to when I'm old, an old lady, and I can't travel anymore or do all the things I want to do. Will I be able to see that in my lifetime?
Well, there is something actually we've been talking about. It's like doing that Game Lab conference in the metaverse, right? At some point, we should try to do that. Right. So maybe next time we will be avatars doing a conference in high fidelity, maybe.
I think within your lifetime, without question, we will be able to we will see a good percentage of experiences like these being done entirely virtually. I do think, though, no matter how good the technology is, and I'm more respectful of this after the work of the last few years and even COVID, there are things about being face-to-face like being able to give someone a hug, that we are not likely to ever replicate. So I think the way we use technology to cross distance will be specific to some use cases, but not all of them. I think this will change cities, by the way. I think in the end and over time, we will choose to live next to people that we would want to touch or that we would want to be closer to than we do today, where we move to a city just because there's a job in some industry there. So I think things are gonna change as we move more to the most intimate and the most human experiences being done face to face, and then almost everything else being done virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Philip, I couldn't agree more with that last thought. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you very much, Philip, for being with us today here in this Meta Game Lab, the first one.
The beginning of the Metaverse.
Yeah.
Very meta.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care, and hopefully see you soon.
Goodbye, Philip. Thank you very much. So we have reached the end of this special little Game Lab 2020.
It's been amazing so far. I mean,
Yeah.
we are just in the middle of Game Lab 2020. We
Yeah.
still have things going on tomorrow, but I think at this point I could already say that this, without being as warm, as special as other times, because we are here in Barcelona connecting remotely with people, I think this has been it's been a very special Game Lab, and probably the best ever. And we couldn't imagine this a few months ago.
Yeah.
When we decided to do it online, we thought, I don't know, it was like a kind of an alternative. But this is real. This is quite real. The conversations with all the amazing speakers that we have are, unique, warm, close, beside the distance that we have. And I think we are getting a lot of learnings from this. I mean, the virus is not going to get in the middle of our objectives. No,
Definitely
never.
not. It's been amazing, very interesting talks, very, as you say, like very warm and very close to us, despite being on the other end of the
games
world.
people are great people.
Yeah,
I always say
games
that.
people are amazing.
We love them, and we are so privileged. We feel so privileged to be able to have them in every opportunity that we require them.
Yeah. It's been fantastic. So thank you to each and every one of you who have been with us during this special bonus session of Game Lab 2020. Thank you very much for letting me be here with you. You are the head of Game Lab.
No, this is something new for me, and it's my pleasure. I always wanted to do something like this with a professional like you. And to all of you, thank you so much for following us, and see you very soon here in Barcelona, please. Remember what Philip Rosedale said. It's important to be close to the people that you like to hug, and we like to hug you all if we can. Okay?
Exactly. And remember all the deals we have closed today on this table.
Yeah, a lot of great speakers coming over.
Lots. They said yes. They can't back down now. Thank you very much to everybody watching us today, and goodbye.